Hey guys, JD here with the new KS3 ProRace Ride Plate from KSpeed. The guys at KSpeed have developed this plate for ultimate offshore and high-speed performance. So let's get this plate installed and see how it performs. So let's take a look at this ride plate here. The guys at KSpeed have done a lot of testing back and forth on this plate to get it where it is today. And I'm going to take you through KSpeed's instructions step by step to install this plate. Then we're going to get out on the water and we're going to do some testing to see how the plate performs compared to the stock plate. Now, before we get started, I highly recommend that you check out the official videos that KSpeed has put together. I'm going to follow their process from an end user standpoint, but always refer to the original source, to the manufacturer of this product for detailed information. So this plate is marine grade aluminum. It is painted, so expect that this paint might wear over time, but initially should help with corrosion resistance. All right, let's get the plate installed. So I just want to show you guys, I have the official KSpeed instructions right here. And I'm going to take you through step by step. I'm going to install this on my own ski, so figure I might as well film it, right? All right, so the first thing we have to do is put the ski into maintenance mode. So we're going to insert the ignition key. We're going to go into the main menu in the settings. Then we're going to select maintenance mode and we're going to highlight on. All right, so let's do that first. All right, so let's go into our main settings. We're going to go down to settings, we're going to go down to maintenance, and we're going to scroll up, select maintenance mode. All right, maintenance mode is now selected on our ski. So in maintenance mode, you're going to utilize the cruise control panel here in order to lower your reverse bucket. You're going to do that by depressing the lower button here about 5 times. Now, if you push it more than that, the bucket may bottom out on the stops, causing a KSRD warning light to trigger on your dash. If that happens, just cycle your key 3 to 4 times or disconnect the battery and reconnect it, and the code should clear. All right, so there's our quick connect fitting. You're gonna push that collar back like that and pop it off of the reverse bucket. That will now allow us to remove this bucket from the factory ride plate. So here is my factory ride plate. So now we're going to remove the 8 5mm Allens holding it in place. You've got 3 on each side, and then these 2 are actually attached to the jet pump itself. So make sure to remove all of these, and the bucket's going to come off with our plate. It's a little easier to change this off once it's off of the ski. You may need to cut some of that silicone away. So now we've got our factory ride plate removed from the ski, and we're gonna go ahead and get the reverse bucket off. You're gonna do that by removing these 2 12mm bolts. There we go, and as you can see, that reverse bucket comes right off. So now we've got to get our reverse bucket onto the KSpeed ride plate. Remember, this plate is painted, so you don't want to put it on the concrete. That could cause a scratch in the finish, so I've got it set on a cardboard box right here. And of course, it never hurts to apply grease, especially where you have these surfaces contacting. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to grease these stanchions here. And then I'm also going to put some grease on the plastic part of the reverse bucket. So just remember, your quick connect fitting when looking at the plate is going to be on the left side. It's going to line up just like this. So KSpeed does recommend that you put Loctite on these bolts. Because I ride in almost exclusively saltwater, I personally find that Loctite on these ride plate bolts creates problems for me. So again, I suggest you follow the KSpeed instructions, but I am not using Loctite on any of the bolts that I install in this that contact saltwater. The saltwater acts as a natural Loctite, if you will, is what I've found. And when I do use Loctite, I tend to end up with stripped Allens. So for my intents and purposes, I did not apply blue Loctite to these. However, I highly recommend that you follow the KSpeed instructions and use blue Loctite on all of these ride plate bolts. So the next step is our reverse bucket connector here. You can see that there's actually a couple threads exposed. We have to loosen this lock nut and screw this quick connect all the way onto the shaft here. So now we need to adjust our quick connect fitting for our reverse. Now you can see here, I'll give you an angle shot from the side. You can see that this, and this is a 2022 model I'm showing you here. So what you need to do is, using an 8mm wrench, you're gonna loosen this little lock nut here, and you're gonna basically screw it all the way to the back. And then the same with this quick connect. You are going to tighten it as much as you can. All right, there we go. Use your 5mm Allen like this just to hold it in place. So see, that'll hold it in place and give you some leverage. You want to make sure that it's facing this way, like this, 90 degrees. And then, so make sure that the opening is 90 degrees. And then you're going to tighten that nut. And now you can see there's no threads exposed on that reverse actuator. So that's been calibrated now. While you have this, check your boot here. Make sure there's no damage on the boot. All right, so now our ride plate is ready to get back on. So Jamie has posted a great video on calibrating your trim and your steering if you have a pump wedge. Now I do have a KSpeed pump wedge in my pump, and I'm gonna keep that in place while I do my ride plate. So you could use a ruler. Jamie uses a ruler in the video, or you can use a caliper like this. And I go like this. All right, and we could see that that's 72 millimeters at the bottom, and then the same measurement at the top is 72. They're exactly the same. So that test is just showing us that our pump is trimmed out evenly, which of course you want it to be, or else you could be losing speed and your ski might not be really trimming out correctly. So make sure that those are, as Jamie says, your number might not be the same as mine depending on your installation, but as long as the two numbers match and the pump housing is evenly centered, it will have a little bit of play. You can see there's a bit of play here. That's normal. While we have this apart as well, I'm going to take a moment to grease everything up here. These quick connect fittings, if yours are seized up, it means you haven't been greasing them enough. They should all operate smoothly like this. You can see these last 50 years. These fittings should never seize up if they're greased properly. So again, while you have this apart, good opportunity to get in there and add some extra grease. Of course, this grease does wash away, so it really needs to be reapplied. Okay, so we've got all of our fittings greased. We've got our reverse quick connect here repositioned all the way onto the shaft and tightened. And so now we're gonna get our new KSpeed ride plate back in place. All right, so we've got everything adjusted and our new ride plate's ready to go on. But I just want to show you, when I pulled the old ride plate off, you can see all this silicone here. So I am going to reapply some new silicone. But before we do that, we got to remove all this old silicone. You can see it's all on here. I want to clean this up really well. So the first thing we're going to do is, you want a brand new, nice and sharp little razor blade like this. All right. And carefully, without destroying your paint, you're just gonna go like that. And you can see how that all comes off. Once we get it off, I'm then gonna use, this is some industrial grade denatured alcohol. You could use isopropyl alcohol. You wanna clean this all up really well so that your new silicone will adhere. You wanna make sure there's no grease or wax or debris on the surface. So I'm gonna scrape all this old silicone off, and then I'm gonna wipe the surfaces down with denatured alcohol to clean up any residual silicone. Then we're gonna install the new plate, and then once it's installed, I'm gonna re-silicone the entire thing, and then we're gonna wait 24 hours for that silicone to cure before going in the water. So for the easiest install, I recommend getting these middle two Allens in place first, and that will kind of hold up the plate. You could use one hand to hold it up, and then I kind of like to get these all in by hand before I go through and tighten them. And don't use a impact wrench to tighten them, tighten them by hand so you don't strip them out. And again, Kspeed does recommend using Loctite on all these. On my personal ski, I ride exclusively in salt water, and I find that they become very, very difficult to get out when I use Loctites. I do suggest you follow Kspeed's recommendations. I'm just being straightforward with you guys and showing you what I do. The salt water acts as a natural Loctite in a way. So anti-seize or moly grease, you could use on those if you ride exclusively in salt and you're worried about them seizing and stripping. But for most riders, you'll want to use Loctite like they did from the factory. Also, my tip for you is to get all of the Allens in place before you tighten any of them. So as you can see, it's a little loose. Get them all in place. Then go through. They should be able, you should be able just to snug them up by hand. Snug them up by hand and then go through and tighten them all. Okay, so our ski's been in maintenance mode this entire time. So now we're gonna hold down the mode button again to reinitialize. You can see that the bucket is now up. The bucket on the 22s like this does have this play. It's normal. You just want to make sure it's not going to interfere with your trim. So to do that, we're going to put the trim all the way up. Trim is now all the way up. And we want to make sure there's no interference with the bucket. All right, so then we're going to turn off maintenance mode. You're going to do that by going down to off and hitting select. It'll run that initialize. All right, so I've got the silicone in place and I've let it cure for 24 hours. You can see that gap is all filled in, and then I did my best just to clean it up. Of course, this is the bottom of the ski, so, do the best job you can in sealing it. And now that I've waited 24 hours for this to cure, it should be good to go. All right, guys, so there you go. It was as easy as that. We've got everything initialized. We've got our reverse bucket calibrated. We did check that our nozzle is not going to interfere with our bucket, and our new Kspeed plate is installed and ready to go. So now let's get out on the water and take this baby for a spin. Special thank you to Kspeed for supporting JD's Water World. To purchase Kspeed products or for more information, visit them online at brisbanekawasaki.com.au. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more exclusive jet ski content, only on JD's Water World.